This is an important part of our country, but it is also a place that is steeped in history. It is a place that is so important that many of our people need to recognize that far away from everyone else on the West Coast, there is a place called Vredendal, where people like yourselves live. This valley of peace is blessed land with very fertile farms. It is also a place where a lot of farming takes place, and it's a farming area where there are many inhabitants, and many of them are farm workers. As we work to reduce unemployment, as Mr. McPherson said, we see the value of agriculture and land reform in growing our economy and creating jobs for our people. We know that history does not have blank pages. Under the inhuman apartheid system, farm workers bore the brunt of exploitation. White commercial farms were built on the back of slaves and South Africa's indigenous people. Since the advent of democracy 30 years ago, we have driven a series of legislative changes to advance the rights of farm workers. We have passed a law that prevents the arbitrary eviction of families that are living on farms. But we also know that farm workers and labor tenants are still being evicted in a number of places without being afforded alternative accommodation. We know, and I continuously hear the stories of how farm workers are removed in the most cruel way from the farms where they work. En ons doen 'n beroep op al werkgewers om mense menslik te behandel. We would like them to be treated like human beings. We would like them to be treated as people who have rights. We call on employers to treat their workers humanely and ensure that they have decent accommodation. We insist that all should ensure that the law is upheld and the rights of all people are protected as well. The working conditions of farm workers are regulated by the Labor Relations Act. And for the first time in the history of our country, we now have a minimum wage that has been set for farm workers. Now, no farm workers may be paid below the national minimum wage. As part of land reform, we have encouraged employment share schemes as well. This is where workers in agriculture and other sectors can have shares in the companies that they work for. There have been initiatives here in Matsigama where this approach is being implemented. We want this to spread, as this is now beginning to spread throughout the country, that people who work in various enterprises should also become share owners in those enterprises.